Hello there everyone, I thought I'd do a video on my force feedback settings for raceroom, especially as at the moment it's all the content is free because of the situation of the world at the moment to do with the virus. So let's go over the force feedback settings and hopefully how you can set up the wheel, some idea of what to do if you're getting this for the first time or you've not played it in a long time since the update, because it did change the force feedback a bit. But I'll just go into the game. There we go. So first you want to go to settings up here. It'll take you to this screen. Go controller settings, and then when you first get the wheel you create a controller profile and it'll be here, and then once you add it you can then customize it and then do any buttons, keyboards or button boxes like I've got that are different. Advanced settings simply is how sensitive the brake, throttle and clutch are, and then you can have a lower dead zone, upper dead zone and all that type of stuff to customize the pedals for how you want basically. 50% basically means 1-to-1, so that's what that means. Right, so let's go into the force feedback then, and you can have a look at mine for what you want in game. So force feedback intensity is 100, force feedback dampeners on 30, and for my CSL Elite I have smoothing on 0 and force feedback spring on 0, because it just gives an unnatural tension to the wheel which isn't there actually in the force feedback, I don't feel. So when it comes to steering force settings, the steering force intensity is at 100. For force feedback minimum force I have that at 0 because it just basically it doesn't seem to do anything. It's just the minimum force that's always there when you're turning, even if there is nothing happening to the car. Understeer I have that on 10. Vertical load and lateral load I have the same, so it's same front to back basically and side to side. And then as it says steering rack, I have that on 35%. That basically that does make how the car actually feels when you're turning, like the forces. But 35 seems to be a good mark, because if you go any higher on a lot of these I find it actually just starts clipping and you can't feel anything at all anyway. So hopefully that gives you some idea of reason why they're like this. Force feedback settings, the slip I have on 25, so you can feel it slipping, but it doesn't feel too light or too heavy. Engine vibration, that basically just makes the wheel shake, so I have that on 1. Curb vibration, you could probably have this a bit higher if you wanted to really feel it through the wheel, but I have it on 10 because I still feel it, but it's just not overly strong. Shift effect, the same principle really. 10% you feel a slight subtle feeling in the wheel, and collision effect 25. In touring cars I'd possibly have this a bit higher, but from where it is it's pretty good. This is something I'll mention when you first start up raceroom, if it's the first time you'll start up to do a force feedback. You have to assign, well I did anyway with my wheel, basically everything in the edit assignments. So when it comes to controller profiles, you select which one you have, and then when you go to the assignments you just go steer left, you go steer left, steer right, press the acceleration brake and all what you have, and the same with the shifters, and you can go down assigning the buttons. So this is how you set everything in the force feedback up. You just simply just click it and hit the button and you're good to go. Because if you first start the game and you just jump straight into a single player race or something and nothing's working, it'll usually be because you've not assigned the controls properly, and that's what I did the first time I had raceroom. I simply went on the controller profile, selected it, thought I'd done everything. It says you've not selected the assignments, which I didn't quite understand at the time because it's a bit different from Project Cars 2 where I come from, and you just have to assign it all yourself, and then that type of message will go away. So I hope that helps. I'll give you another look at the force feedback. So just make sure it's on. And where it says inverted force feedback as well, just make sure that's on, because if you don't invert it for whatever reason, it just feels awful. It's reversed even though it says inverted, it's the opposite. So hopefully it's giving you a good basic force feedback to go off of, and then you can tweak it down or tweak it up depending on how you feel. So I thought I'd just show you my wheel settings as well to do with the CSL Elite PS4 edition. So I'll read them out to you, hopefully you can see them in the video, but if you can't. So the sensitivity or wheel range, which is SEN, is on auto. The overall FFB strength, so the force feedback, I have at 100. The vibration strength, which is SHRO, is 50%. ABS, I have on 60. Yep, 60. Drift mode, I have this on 2. So the wheel doesn't feel overly stiff while you're driving on raceroom. So it flows nicely because the spring is off. Okay, so game force feedback strength is at 110. The spring is also at 100%, and the game dampening effect is at 100%, and force effect sensitivity, is at 60. Now some of these, all of them I believe are on the wheel, but I've got them here in the Fanna Lab, so you can see them. So hopefully this has given you some settings to use on raceroom. Alright guys, this is Billy Boy signing out. See you all next time.